the town transformed into another world after sunset. At night, the lights in the houses went out early, and the streets were enveloped in silence. But this silence didn't bring peace, it brought unease. Because at night, there was a masked figure roaming the town. No one knew who he was, but everyone feared him. This mysterious figure seemed to emerge from the darkness, stalking those who dared to venture outside at night. Sometimes, he would chase them down, leaving them injured. Those who saw him spoke of his cold gaze from behind the mask and his eerie silence. This masked figure, who had become the town's legend, grew bolder over time. He no longer just appeared at night, but began leaving messages around the town. These messages were found in various places, carved into walls or stuck on the doors of houses. The messages were short but chilling. "I'm watching you. Your turn is coming. No one is safe." These threats made the townspeople even more paranoid. Each day, more people shut themselves in their homes, while those brave enough to venture outside became the masked man's targets. One night, Mark, an elder of the town, encountered the masked figure on his way back from the cafe. The masked man, holding a knife, approached him slowly. Mark was too old to run, but he gathered his courage and tried to speak to the masked figure. "What do you want from us? Why won't you leave us alone?" he asked in a trembling voice. The masked figure stood still, his eyes barely visible through the mask's holes. After a moment of silence, he pulled out a piece of paper and handed it to Mark. Only one word was written on it: "Soon." After Mark took the paper, the masked figure quickly disappeared. That night, Mark returned to the cafe and showed the paper to everyone. The townspeople were even more terrified. Now, they didn't just fear the nights, they feared what the masked man might do during the day. Soon, more messages began to appear around the town. This masked figure wasn't just scaring people anymore, he was toying with the town's fate. Every day, there were new injuries and new messages. The townspeople started to look at each other with suspicion, trying to figure out who the masked man was. Everyone feared each other because the man behind the mask could be one of them. One night, a great fire broke out in the town square. As the townspeople rushed in panic to the scene, they found a large message written in the middle of the square: "In the end, you will all be mine." That night, the town experienced one of the most horrifying nights in its history. The masked figure was no longer just a legend, he was a living nightmare. And no one could predict what he would do next. The townspeople continued to live in this terror for years, but over time, they turned their backs on each other. The masked figure didn't just harm bodies, he damaged minds. Living without knowing who was friend and who was foe was consuming them. And every night, the masked man's footsteps echoed through the streets. For years, the town lived under the grip of this nightmare. Every night, the masked man's footsteps echoed in the streets. But one night, everything changed. The masked figure appeared once more in the town square. This time, instead of holding a piece of paper, he had a banner that addressed the entire town. There was a single sentence written in large letters: "I am Buddah, and everything is just beginning." This was a turning point for the town. The masked man had revealed himself. But this revelation didn't signal the end of fear, it was only the beginning. No one was safe anymore, because the dark entity named Buddah had the town firmly in his grip. Everything was just beginning.